Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's Live Authentically with Krista. Thank you so much for being here. Today's topic is pride is bringing division to our relationships. It's hurting relationships. Pride is. Okay? And this is just coming from what's being laid upon my heart, personal experience, things I've gone through, and things that are happening in real time. Things that are happening in real time. And not only in my life, but in the life, like in our world, it's happening. All you got to do is reflect on your life and reflect on like what's happening in our life. There's so much division and people against other people. And a lot of it has to do with not communicating, choosing to misunderstand people, or otherwise it's just not willing to be corrected is what it is. And this is what hurts relationships. Number one, if you're not communicating, then you can't solve anything. If you're not communicating, then you can't talk about how you feel. If you're not communicating, then you can't bring a solution to the table. If you're not communicating and sharing how you feel, nothing can change. Because communication is the oxygen to a relationship. And I was trying to encourage someone today. that I was talking to. And just like letting them know that all we can do as people is pray. It's all we can do is pray. And if someone just chooses to remain prideful and is not willing to be corrected, if they're not willing to hear what you have to say, if they're not willing to hear your heart, if they're not willing to communicate, then there's not really anything you can do about it other than just pray. But I've just recognized how much pain it brings to a relationship. That if you're prideful, it really hurts relationships. Because pride is just, you're pleasing yourself and you're not thinking about other people. And that's the wrong thing right there, is if you're not thinking about how other people would feel, it's going to hurt your relationships. And I was trying to just encourage someone today with that, and to not take that on as that she's no good. This is what I've had to learn, is that when I'm talking to people, and like if somebody's prideful and not willing to hear what I have to say, or they're not willing to hear my heart, then I can't look at myself and think that I'm no good just because somebody else doesn't want to communicate with me. I don't want to look at myself and think of myself as a piece of junk, or I don't want to belittle myself and think of myself as such that I'm not any good just because someone else isn't communicating with me. Because I've done that in the past. And I'm a really loving person. And although I can be bold at times because I try to, I, I, I try to stand for truth and what's right, you know? So I'm not like this huge yeller, unless my dog is being naughty. Then I might try and scold her, because my puppy, she likes to kind of harass my other dog and like bark in her face. So yeah, so there are times when I have to yell at her and just like tell her to stop, you know? But I'm not this person that likes to yell. You know, I don't like to do that. I like to bring peace to people. Not to say that you're not going to have that fun and just like play games and like compete, and then you're like yelling across the room or something in fun. But I was just really reflecting on just how much pride really, really hurts relationships. You know, pride is what divides people. Humility is what unites people. Humility is what unites people. It's just being willing to say, I'm sorry when you're wrong. Being willing to just like check yourself and just realize in ways that you show up, you know, that might not be correct. And just being willing to do better. This is what life is about. You know, we should always be willing to grow as people and to humble ourselves and just admit, like, yeah, I admit I showed up the wrong way. Like I do this with my kids too. You know, I do this with my kids, and my kids and I, like, we talk pretty openly about things about the world, and just like how they view the world themselves, and things that they see that are happening that is wrong. So I allow them to speak freely, and we talk about things a lot. And I try to encourage my kids to really to really try to meet people where they're at. I've talked about this a lot. Like, I've taught my kids to, you have to allow people to grow, and you really have to meet people where they're at, and allow God to work on people's hearts, because everybody's growth happens at different times, you know. And I kind of like learn things. I've learned a lot. I would say I've learned a lot since the year 2020. Like, I feel like that is the year that like God really started waking me up to like what's going on in the world, and just me, like, I truly became like this transformed person, where I'm not the same person I was in 2020. I'm not the same person I was in 2021. Like, I'm constantly growing because I'm always evaluating myself and thinking of like if I felt like I showed up in the right way, or sometimes I just evaluate like, well, dang, I wish I wouldn't have said that. I wish I would have said something differently. I wish I would have not done that, you know. But all of that does is help you. All of that self-examination does is help you. It helps you grow as a person, you know. And we learn through mistakes. It's not always fun making mistakes, but we learn. But once the mistake was made, all you can do is grow from it. All you can do is learn to do better as a person. That's all you can do. So I'm a huge promoter of allowing people grace to grow. I'm a huge promoter of meeting people where they're at, and I'm a huge promoter of communication, because I've had a lot of time in my life where I was too afraid to speak up. I was too afraid to speak up, and times where I felt like I was walking on eggshells with people because I didn't want them to reject me. So I felt like I had to constantly try and please people because I didn't want to say something to offend anyone. I didn't want to hurt anyone. And I felt like I couldn't truly share my heart because I didn't want to affect people. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I didn't want to offend anybody. But that's the wrong kind of attitude, because nobody should walk on eggshells with anyone. We shouldn't. We should be allowed to speak. We should be allowed to share our hearts and to not get mad at each other and to not punish each other because of the things that we say, you know? Because perfect love casts out fear, doesn't punish. That's in the book of 1 John, I believe, chapter 4, verse 18, I believe. So this is something I also teach my kids too, to just recognize like who they're surrounded with too and how they're being treated. And because I want my children to really recognize who's safe and who isn't, and also so that they truly would learn to value themselves. So I hope this message helps somebody, but I don't know. In my house, I'm just a huge promoter of communication and just being honest with each other. Just being really honest with each other. You know, my kids have called me out on stuff where they've told me or they felt like I was wrong about something. And then I've called them out as well and just saying, well, that's your pride talking. Like, you're being prideful right now, you know, and they recognize it. They recognize it. And all we can do is apologize. That's all we can do as people. It's just when we're wrong, that's all we can do is apologize. That's all we can do. But God doesn't want us being prideful people. He wants us to walk together in unity. He wants us to be able to talk to each other and to grow together as people, and to be able to listen and to help each other out. And to be willing to hear each other and how you feel, how two people feel, and be able to just find a solution. I truly believe that there is a solution for just about everything, you know. But I think that in life, that two people are never going to fully agree on every single thing in their life, you know. Two people are not going to fully agree on everything. You know, I've talked about, like, one of my friends, like, her and I just sometimes we talk about, like, what our opinions are, and she doesn't fully agree on some things that I say, but then it's just kind of like we talk about it. We're not casting someone else's opinion aside. We're just like, we're willing to hear each other out, like how you feel and what you think about it, okay? And we're trying to, like, meet in the middle. so I can respect her and she can respect me. Like, this is what life is about, is learning about how to respect each other and still walk together in unity. You know, just like respecting each other's like differences, and to not hold people to perfection. You know, because perfection, it just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You know, like having all of these boxes and just like expecting somebody to just like check all of them, that's just not right. It's not right to expect perfection out of anyone. What we should be looking at is people, like, their character, their character, like how they show up, like who they are as people, and whether, like, how they treat you. Like, that's what truly matters. And everything else is just like, we gotta just not get so hung up on expecting people to be perfect in this life, because it just doesn't exist. You know, I look at my kids and I'm like, well, my kids are not robots. My kids are not robots. I can't expect them to be perfect. I know they're going to make mistakes. And I tell my kids, I say, you know what? I know that you're going to make mistakes. And for me as a mom, it's my job to not cast you aside because of that mistake. But what I do is I share my heart around things, and then I let it go. And it's really interesting because some of my kids, like 2 of them specifically, like, they've actually confessed things to me, things that they did in the past that I wouldn't have been okay with, and they finally came clean to me about things, because I created a safe atmosphere for them to talk to me about it. And although they knew those things were wrong, but they felt like they needed to come clean so that they could be okay. Because really, the truth sets you free. The truth sets you free. Like, coming clean about stuff and just like sharing like what you may have done or something, like sharing that, the truth, and not having somebody punish you for it, like, that truly sets you free. It like takes the weight off of you. Saying sorry and just like apologizing, it takes the weight off of you. It takes the pressure off of you. Forgiveness does that. You know, I just had I'll call yesterday with somebody a couple days, or actually not yesterday, but a couple days ago, and we were talking about just like forgiveness and how she needed to forgive somebody and how she felt like free. She felt free because she forgave somebody. I'm like, yeah, that's what it does. It sets you free, and it sets the other person free too. It sets the other person free too. And this all goes back to the Bible, you know, because Jesus, he died for us. He paid for our mistake. He paid for our sin, right? His love, his love and his sacrifice, his sacrificial love of dying for us, covers our sin, right? But all we got to do is say we're sorry. All we got to do is ask for forgiveness. Lord, will you forgive me for the things that I've done wrong? And when we do that, he forgives us. And it's as though we never committed that sin, you know? That's redemption. Like, that's redemption. And it's the same thing in people. Like, in our lives, when we show up and we say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Will you forgive me? I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Will you please forgive me? I'm sorry that I hurt you. Will you please forgive me? Just that act alone is huge. It's absolutely huge. It's absolutely huge for someone to humble themselves and to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I hurt you. I'm sorry that I said that. I shouldn't have said that. Just being able to do that is a beautiful thing. But then when someone says, I forgive you, when somebody says, I forgive you, that sets you free. So that means that you don't have to hold on to that stuff anymore. You can like shrug it off. Like it sets you free. It really does. And nobody should hold that mistake over your head again. Nobody should hold that mistake over you, because in scripture, and something that I have learned myself, is that I don't hold people's mistakes against them. I don't hold that mistake against them. Okay? I forgive people. But something that I really, really value is when someone just admits it. And when I actually hear the words like, I'm sorry, that means everything to me. When somebody admits and they know they were wrong about how they treated me, and when they say, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? That would mean everything to me. Because I'm not the type of person that holds people, I don't hold people for perfection. And I welcome people back with love and open arms. Like, I don't make it hard for people to come back. I would rather just like hear the words like, I'm sorry. And then I'll say like, I forgive you. And let's hug it out. And like, let's get to the good stuff. Because that's just who I am. I don't like reminiscing like old stuff over and over and over again. I don't like it. I'd rather just like quickly hear the apology and then just like move on to the good stuff. You know, of course, share your heart and how you feel, but I would rather just like move quickly through things if we can. You know, that this is just who I am. But anyways, I hope that this message has, that you found value with it. But yeah, pride really does hurt relationships. Pride is just, it brings so much destruction to our world, to our lives, not only to our lives personally, but to our relationships and to what's going on in the world today. There's so much division and fighting going on. And it's sad. It's sad because walking together and being united is so much better. It's so much better. And just helping each other through things. Because two people are always better than one. You can pick each other up when you're sad. You can pick each other up when you're feeling bad, you know, or when you're just having a hard time. Just being there for people, being there for each other, walking together and just showing up for one another. Because reciprocation really does matter. Two people reciprocating and showing up for a relationship equally, where you both win, that would be amazing. So anyways, I hope that you found value. Like the video, comment below, subscribe if you want to stay connected. What are your thoughts? Do you believe that pride is really hurting relationships? Have you been in situations where there's just like so much pride and it's not only hurt you, but it's hurt your relationship, or maybe, what are your thoughts on that? Feel free to drop down below if you want to talk about it. If you want to feel free to be vulnerable if you want to do that. And we can just talk about it. But anyways, I just felt led to make this video, and hopefully you found value with it, and that it could bring some breakthrough to your life, or just like in general with how important communication is. Communication is really the lifeline. It's the oxygen to a relationship. And communicating and just really sitting down together and talking about how you feel and just being real with one another without just like casting each other aside, and just really being willing to listen to each other. Like, this is what the Lord wants us all to be able to do, is to be this type of people. Okay? So, I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for being here.